The men who killed Caesar believed they were saving Rome. They believed they were protecting freedom. But history tells a different story. Their actions did not save the Republic. Instead, their actions helped destroy it. Soon after Caesar's death, Rome fell into another civil war. And in the end, the Roman Republic disappeared forever. A new power rose from the chaos. The Roman Empire had begun. And it all started on one shocking day, the Ides of March. More than 2,000 years ago, there was a man who changed the world. His name was Julius Caesar. He was a great general. He was a famous politician. He was also the most powerful man in Rome. But one day, his friends killed him. Not his enemies, his friends. This story is about power, fear, betrayal, and one of the most shocking murders in history. Rome was the strongest city in the world. It controlled lands across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. But Rome was not ruled by a king. Rome was a republic. Important men in the Senate made decisions for the country. Many senators were rich and powerful. But then Julius Caesar appeared, and everything began to change. Caesar was born in 100 BC. His family was noble but not very rich. From a young age, Caesar had big dreams. He wanted power. He wanted glory. He wanted Rome to remember his name forever. And he was willing to take big risks. Caesar first became famous as a soldier. He fought in many wars. But his greatest success came in Gaul. Today we call it France. For almost 10 years, Caesar fought there. His army defeated many tribes. He wrote letters to Rome describing his victories. These letters made him famous. People in Rome began to admire him. Many soldiers loved him like a father. They trusted him. They would die for him. But not everyone liked Caesar. Many senators in Rome were afraid of him. They saw his growing power. They saw his loyal army. They saw his popularity, and they began to worry. Because Rome had a deep fear. Rome hated kings. Long ago, Rome had a cruel king. After that king was removed, the Romans promised something. Rome would never have a king again. But Caesar looked dangerous, too powerful, too popular, too ambitious. The Senate started to see him as a threat. And the man who feared him most was Pompey the Great. Pompey was also a famous general. For many years, Pompey and Caesar were allies. But power can break friendships. Soon they became enemies, and Rome moved towards civil war. In 49 BC, the Senate made a bold decision. They ordered Caesar to do something important. They said, "Leave your army and return to Rome as a private citizen." But Caesar knew what that meant. If he returned without his army, his enemies would destroy him. They would take his power. They might even kill him. So Caesar made a decision that shocked the world. He stood with his army near a small river. The river's name was Rubicon. Roman law said something very clear. No general could bring an army across that river into Italy. If someone did, it meant war against Rome. Caesar looked at the water. His soldiers waited. The moment was heavy. Finally, Caesar spoke famous words. "The die is cast." Then he walked across the river. His army followed him. At that moment, the civil war began. Pompey and many senators fled Rome. They were afraid of Caesar's army. Soon, Rome belonged to Caesar. But the war was not finished. Pompey gathered a huge army in Greece. Caesar chased him. The two greatest generals in Rome would soon meet in battle. In 48 BC, their armies met at the Battle of Pharsalus. Pompey had more soldiers. Many people believed Pompey would win, but Caesar was a brilliant commander. His army fought with discipline and courage. The battle was fierce. Dust filled the air. Swords clashed. Men shouted and died. But by the end of the day, Pompey's army was destroyed. Caesar had won. Pompey ran away. He escaped to Egypt. He hoped the young king of Egypt would help him, but the king made a cruel decision. He wanted to impress Caesar, so he ordered Pompey to be killed. Pompey was murdered the moment he stepped onto the shore. His head was cut off, and it was given to Caesar as a gift. But Caesar was not happy. When he saw Pompey's head, he felt sadness. Pompey had once been his friend, his son-in-law, his ally. Now he was gone, killed by betrayal. Caesar turned away. History says he even cried. But Caesar was now the master of Rome. No army could stop him. No politician could challenge him. The Senate had no choice. They gave him more and more power. Finally, they made him something very dangerous. They made him dictator for life. And that decision terrified Rome, because many senators believed something terrible was coming. They believed Caesar wanted to become king of Rome, and if that happened, the republic would die. So a group of senators made a secret plan, a deadly plan. They decided there was only one way to save Rome. Caesar had to die. But the most shocking part was this. One of the men in the plan was someone Caesar trusted deeply, someone he treated like a son. His name was Brutus. After winning the civil war, Caesar returned to Rome. He was now the most powerful man in the Roman world. People cheered for him in the streets. Soldiers loved him. Many poor citizens admired him. Caesar also began many reforms. He helped the poor. He gave land to soldiers. He changed the calendar. The calendar we use today is still based on his system. But while the common people loved him, many senators did not. They felt afraid because Caesar was gaining more and more power. The Senate gave him new titles. They made him dictator for 10 years. Later, they made him dictator for life. That title shocked many people, because in Rome, a dictator usually ruled only during emergencies, but Caesar would rule forever. Many senators began to whisper to each other. They asked a dangerous question. Is Caesar becoming a king? Rome hated kings. Hundreds of years earlier, the Roman people had removed their last king. Since then, Romans believed something very strongly. No king must ever rule Rome again. But Caesar acted differently from other leaders. Statues of Caesar appeared across Rome. His face was printed on coins. This was something only gods or kings usually received. During public events, people treated Caesar almost like a god. Some senators felt humiliated. They believed the republic was dying. Then something happened that made the fear even worse. During a public festival, Caesar sat on a golden chair. A man named Mark Antony, his loyal supporter, approached him. Antony held a crown in his hands. He placed the crown on Caesar's head. The crowd watched carefully. Was Caesar about to become king? Caesar removed the crown. The people cheered. Antony tried again. Again, Caesar refused. The crowd cheered even louder. But many senators did not believe this was real. They thought it was a test. They believed Caesar wanted to see how people would react to a king, and that moment pushed some senators toward a terrible decision. Soon, a group of senators began meeting secretly. They believed Rome was in danger. They believed the Republic was dying. They believed only one action could save Rome. Caesar must be killed. More than 60 senators joined the conspiracy. Many of them were people Caesar trusted. Some had been his friends for many years. But the most shocking name among them was Brutus. Brutus was respected in Rome. He was known as an honest man. People believed he cared deeply about the Republic. Caesar trusted him. Some people even believed Caesar loved Brutus like a son. But Brutus felt torn. He respected Caesar, but he loved Rome more. Another conspirator, Cassius, spoke to him many times. Cassius said, "If Caesar becomes king, Rome will lose its freedom." Brutus struggled with the decision. He could save his friend, or he could save the Republic. Finally, he chose Rome. He joined the conspiracy. The conspirators needed the perfect moment. They needed a place where Caesar would have no soldiers. They chose a meeting of the Senate. The meeting would happen on a famous day, March 15. The Romans called this day the Ides of March. Before the day arrived, strange things began to happen. According to ancient stories, Rome felt uneasy. Some people said they saw strange signs in the sky. Others reported strange dreams. Even Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, had a terrifying dream. She dreamed that Caesar was bleeding. She woke up in fear. She begged him not to go to the Senate meeting. There was also a mysterious warning. A fortune teller once approached Caesar. He said only one sentence: "Beware the Ides of March." Caesar laughed and ignored him. He believed he was protected by his power and popularity, but the warning remained in people's minds. On the morning of March 15th, Calpurnia again begged Caesar to stay home. She was terrified. At first, Caesar agreed. He decided not to attend the Senate meeting. But then one of the conspirators arrived. His name was Decimus. He convinced Caesar to change his mind. Decimus said, "If you do not go, the senators will think you are afraid." Caesar did not want to look weak, so he stood up. He prepared to go to the Senate. As Caesar walked through Rome, many people greeted him. The streets were busy. The city felt normal. But hidden in the Senate house, the conspirators waited. Their hearts were beating fast. They carried small knives under their clothes. Soon, Caesar arrived. He entered the Senate building. The senators stood to greet him. Everything looked peaceful, but danger was everywhere. One conspirator approached Caesar with a request. He asked Caesar to forgive his brother for a crime. Caesar refused. Suddenly, the man grabbed Caesar's shoulders. That was the signal. Another conspirator pulled out a knife. He stabbed Caesar. The attack had begun. Caesar was shocked. At first, he tried to fight back, but more men rushed toward him. Knives flashed in the air. One after another, they stabbed him. There were too many attackers. Caesar could not escape. Then he saw someone in the crowd, a face he trusted. Brutus, the man he believed was his friend. According to famous history, Caesar looked at him in disbelief, and he spoke his final words. "Et tu, Brutus." It means, "You too, Brutus." At that moment, Caesar stopped resisting. He pulled his robe over his face, and he fell to the floor. The attack was brutal. Caesar received 23 stab wounds. Blood spread across the Senate floor. The most powerful man in Rome was dead. The conspirators believed they had saved the Republic. They walked through the streets shouting, "Rome is free!" But the people did not celebrate. Instead, the city fell into fear and confusion. Many citizens loved Caesar. They were shocked and angry. Soon, Caesar's loyal friend Mark Antony took control. He asked permission to speak at Caesar's funeral. The conspirators agreed. They believed Antony would support them. They were terribly wrong. At the funeral, Antony gave a powerful speech. He spoke about Caesar's kindness. He spoke about his victories. He spoke about his love for Rome. Then he showed the crowd Caesar's wounded body. He described the stab wounds. He pointed to each cut, and he asked the crowd one question. Was this the act of heroes? The people became furious. Riots began across Rome. The conspirators were forced to flee. In the years after Caesar's death, Rome fell into another civil war. Caesar's supporters fought against his killers. Brutus and Cassius gathered armies, but they were eventually defeated. Both men took their own lives after losing the war. Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, rose to power. He later became known as Augustus. He became the first emperor of Rome, and with him, the Roman Republic finally ended. The Roman Empire had begun. The men who killed Caesar believed they were saving freedom, but history moved in another direction. Their actions did not save the Republic. Instead, they helped destroy it. Caesar died on the floor of the Senate, but his death changed the future of Rome forever. Sometimes the most shocking events in history happen not because of enemies, but because of friends. And that is why the story of Julius Caesar remains one of the most dramatic betrayals in human history. If you enjoyed this historical story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We share many fascinating stories from history while helping you improve your English at the same time. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next story.